right. Well, hello everybody. This is Dusty from the fellowship team, and I am here with Lee and Susan Gass, who are going to tell you more about themselves, and I'm excited to be here. So thank you for letting me come.
Thank you.
So, when did you become a member of our church, and what influenced you to join our church?
We joined the church in May of 1986. Our oldest son, Ryan, was just a year old, and we decided we needed to find a church home, kind of for him and for us too. I think the influence was probably Yankton College, because of the Yankton College connection to the UCC church.
Okay.
We were both familiar with the church. I grew up Lutheran. Lee grew up more or less nothing, non-denominational.
Okay. Or non-denominational or unchurched?
All of the above.
Okay.
My dad was in the Navy, so we spent a lot of time bouncing around.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were not very religious either, or spiritual, so we didn't go to church. And if we did, it was an ecumenical service on a base.
Okay.
So it was, one size fits all.
Yeah.
Whoever was the chaplain might have been Catholic, Jewish,
Right.
whatever. So services tended to be pretty generic.
Oh, cool.
So we agreed, I guess came together and said, well, let's do the UCC church. That was kind of where we felt comfortable.
So
where we
did
felt
you
home.
grow up here in Yankton?
No.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Nebraska, kind of about 2.5 hours from here on a farm down by Fremont, Nebraska, and came to Yankton to go to Yankton College.
Okay. All right. So what did you major in?
I majored in business administration.
All right.
Yeah, so
That's fun.
it was. It was really my thing. I took one accounting class in high school and said, "Oh, I have found my life." I really like
And you
accounting.
did it too, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, advice. If you could give your former self advice, or if you were to give advice to someone younger than you, what would you say?
I would probably tell myself to relax more. I'm kind of high strung. I get tense and stressed easily.
Mm-hmm.
Still do. I would probably tell myself to just chill, baby.
Yeah.
I should still tell myself to do that,
Yeah.
but it doesn't work. So.
Yeah. Sometimes it does.
Yeah, sometimes.
A little bit.
We're both type A personalities.
Yeah.
So, when she worked at the tax accountant, we'd probably meet at home about 7:30, 8 o'clock, because we would both work those hours.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of the ideal employee. We're going to give you 60, 70, 80 hours a week and not complain about it. Well, complain about it a little bit, but we would give it. So, yeah, mine would be the same thing, is I would tell myself, you need to do more than just work. I would look back and say you need to spend more time with kids, with family, just outside of the office. It's like that old story about, you never see it on a tombstone, wish I spent more time at work.
Right. Yep. So chill, baby.
Chill, baby. Yeah.
So you grew up on a farm?
Yes.
Okay.
In Nebraska.
So what kind of farming did your family do?
We had a feed mill. They
Okay.
made pelleted feed for cattle and hogs and sheep, and then my dad farmed with his brother and brother-in-law
Okay.
and raised cattle.
Do you have siblings?
I have 2 older brothers and a younger sister.
So do they still farm?
My brother does. My oldest
Okay.
brother still farms with his son, and his son, so my nephew, lives in the house that I grew up in.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool
Yeah.
that he's back
Yeah.
on the farm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's actually I don't have too many nephews, but he's a nephew with the Rasmussen name.
So
that's kinda
how many generations have lived there then?
He's the 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah, because my father, or like my family, and then my brother lived there, and then now his son lives
Okay,
there. So yeah, just 3 generations.
Yeah.
My parents built the house,
Okay.
so it doesn't go back to
And it's not
grandparents.
that far down the road from where your grandparents were.
Right, yeah, same
Yeah,
county
yeah.
of
Okay.
that my grandparents lived
Okay.
in and grew up in.
So did you have chores on the farm?
I did not, thank goodness, did not have chores. I was a farm girl, but not a farm girl. I was not the one to drive the tractor. I was not. I was not out feeding the cows. No, I was in the house.
Okay.
Yeah, she tells horror stories about being recruited into helping move the cattle.
Bad.
And
I was more afraid of them than they were of me, I think. I don't know. It was just
And
not good.
cattle are afraid of humans because they're not used to them. It's
And-
not like petting the little cow in the field. No.
And they're
it's not like
huge.
that. Yeah.
I mean, these were ones that were ready to go to to be butchered.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I was much happier in the house baking and cleaning and doing those
Yeah.
types of things.
Okay.
I
Okay.
did have to help butcher chickens, but that was okay. Mow the lawn, but not driving a tractor. I still don't know how to drive a tractor, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I do.
There you go.
Good.
There you
Don't.
go.
You're not going to teach me because I don't want to learn.
So you moved all over the place.
Yeah, my brother joined the Air Force. I have one older brother. He joined the Air Force, and they have to give how many places you've lived, the whole background and stuff. And my mom wrote up a list, and I think it was like 25 places. We didn't. I mean, sometimes we stayed in a place for a few months while we were at a duty station, and then looking for private residence or something like that. So,
Where was your favorite place?
favorite place was probably Yankton.
Oh, wow.
Because it's the longest I've ever been anywhere. So I didn't mind where my dad retired to. He was from Nebraska, so we retired to southern Nebraska.
Okay.
But I joke about I can drive a tractor. But when I was in sixth grade, I actually spent the summer on my cousin's farm, and I did the whole shebang. I drove the tractor and did all of that kind of stuff, and was out there with the hogs and the cattle and the whole 9 yards. But I was a city kid, and I was only a sixth grader.
Yeah.
In Nebraska, when you're on a farm, I think you can drive at any age.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
yep.
That's fun. So how did you guys meet?
We met at Yankton
Yankton
College.
College. Lee was
Okay.
at Yankton College also. Business
Okay.
major.
Okay.
We had a few classes together.
Quite a few classes
few
together.
classes
'Cause,
together.
we always, same rotation and stuff every other year for certain classes. So,
So where did you go on your first date, and why did you ask? Did you ask her out, or did she ask you? How did this all go?
what is our first date? Do you know?
Well, our first. Somebody else has asked me that question too, and I said, "Well, do you want the truth, or do you want kind of the story I want to tell?" We kind of met at a bar. I mean, we were at a bar, and that was.
Well, that was a
kinda-
Yankton College
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
Wednesday nights, because very few people had Thursday classes, there was a
Uh-huh.
rotation in town. You start at one bar and you went to the next, and then you came back to the final bar, and that was kind of the thing. And a lot of folks went, so it was not really a one-on-one date. It was
No.
more of a
No.
one of those group dates. It was like all my friends, well, pretty much all the college went, so
Yeah.
that
So
kind of
did you
thing.
guys get married here in Yankton?
We got married in my hometown church in Nebraska,
Okay.
in a little town of Kendrick,
Big wedding?
Nebraska. I don't know. There were
Not huge.
100 and some
Yeah.
people, I
Yep.
suppose. Not.
Small church, you can't fit a lot of
Yeah,
folks into
small
it.
church.
Okay.
It was after college, so I had been away from
Mm-hmm.
the area for a while, and so it wasn't
What time of year did you get married?
in October.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
end of October. It was a lovely day.
Yeah,
It was a really,
For the end of
really nice
October, it was
day.
really nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So did you have family in your wedding?
Yes, my sister and my sister-in-law were two of my attendants.
Hmm.
You
I
had
did not.
You had college friends,
And high school
and
friends.
high school friends. Yeah,
Cool.
that was good.
Yeah. Did you go on honeymoon?
No,
Not
kind of. Well,
really.
kind of, sort of. That's another one of those
Yeah.
stories. Is I think I just changed jobs,
Lee had you had just
so I
started a
needed
new
to
job.
get back to town. So
Uh-huh.
on Monday, so
Yes.
we drove over to the what is it called?
DeSoto
Bend.
Bend at
It's got a
Missouri
little
Valley.
museum, but it's kind of an
Iowa.
outside refuge, wildlife refuge kind of place.
Okay.
and we went inside the museum and spent a little time there because we were killing time before we went back to the farm to do gifts and such.
Right.
But it was kind of fun because when we were in, somebody had written a note and stuck it under the windshield, and they said they saw the wedding dress, and they, hoped, for the best for us and well wishes.
Yeah,
So
so it was
Really
nice.
cool.
yeah, it is. But yeah, that was an exciting honeymoon. We went from Blair. It's what, half an hour
Yeah, we
to
were
the
half an
east,
hour away.
and then we came back
But-
to Yankton because.
But yeah, you had to be to. I think you had to be to work on like Tuesday, and I was looking for a job. I had just finished my schooling at USD,
Okay.
and so
So you got your master's?
yeah, we both have our
Okay.
master's
Okay.
degree from USD.
Okay.
We did not do that at the
in 2
same
weeks, I'll have a doctorate.
Hey!
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations!
It's honorary.
Honorary from
It's the
Yankton
kind of one I
College.
would get.
I don't care. It's a doctorate. You can say doctor now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Well, you don't get those for just, throwing rocks across the pond. So
There we go.
I think you're,
No,
Yeah.
he's earned it.
yes.
Definitely.
Yep.
earned
Yep.
his other
My other
40-hour
full-time
week
job that I have.
Yeah.
I'm the chairman of the board of trustees.
Oh, wow.
So we moved, from the high school to the
Okay.
Mead building. We're creating museums. We haven't had a reunion for 2 years, so this year is really huge. So a lot of things going on, a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
And so I've been the chair for the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, who knows? It seems
I
like
don't even
forever.
remember when you took over.
But yeah, it's been.
Yeah, well, with COVID.
Yeah.
It kind of elongated.
Yeah, it
things
does.
a
It really
lot.
does.
So, are you doing some special events that the public can go to, or?
We're gonna have just basically an open house and such, mostly alums
Okay.
and such. But we'll have a groundbreaking ceremony for the floor, but it's not really a groundbreaking because
Uh-huh.
needless to say, we're in a concrete building. I don't think they want us to have shovels out and break the floor up.
No.
So, but yeah, we're having a few things that are
That's cool.
everybody can kind of drop in on and stuff, but mostly alums and
Okay.
alumni related events.
Well, I think they have a lot of cool archives at the college. I
Mhm.
went in that room down from the opposite end, from past the locker rooms and
Yep.
that's the alumni for the college,
Right.
right?
Right.
And that'll all be in the museum spaces that we're
And
developing right now.
there are some really cool photographs, and
Yep.
I love all that kind of stuff. So
Yep.
we just stumbled in there one day when I was taking one of the people that I support swimming, and we just wandered around down there to do some more walking, and
Mhm.
that was neat. So
Now
I'm glad to
it's-
hear.
Now it's all been moved to the Mead
That's
building, being
awesome.
set up, and it'll be more.
More museum-like.
Yeah, and
more,
you'll be able to see
there'll be
more
some
stuff displayed.
descriptions
Yeah.
and
Good.
some labels to what things are and such.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad to have that connection because I would like to see it again with some more explanations. So
Yep.
Yeah.
thank you. for
You're
doing
welcome.
that. So when you were in school, did you guys participate in any activities, sports, or otherwise?
I did some sports, but not well. I was probably more like, clubs like pep club
Okay.
and things like that. I did 4-H. My family had a history of 4-H. My grandfather started one of the first livestock clubs, 4-H
Oh,
clubs
wow.
in the county, and I think it's still going. So it was kind of a tradition that you were in 4-H.
So your grandfather farmed also?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Did your grandma work outside the home, or was she?
No, she was in the house, in the home.
And this was your mom's?
This was my dad's parents.
Okay.
My mother was the youngest of 16 children. So she was the youngest. So her parents were. I did not know my mother's father. He was deceased before I was born. And my grandmother, my mother's mother, I was probably 6, I think, when she passed away. So I have very limited
Right.
memory of her. I know I was scared of her. I do remember that very well because she was scary. I mean, I think she was just, she was old and I was a little
Right.
kid and she just
Right.
didn't really want to
Yeah.
tolerate me probably very well or very much.
16 kids.
Yeah, 16. Yeah, no twins.
Wow.
Yeah. And now I just lost my
Last one.
last aunt this year. Yeah,
Just
my
a couple weeks ago.
My mom's
You're right.
sister
I
passed
remember.
away.
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
sorry
and
about that. But
Thank you.
do you guys have big family reunions and get-togethers?
My family does. Lee's really doesn't.
No.
Both of my mother's family and my dad's family, we still have kind of annual reunions.
Because it seems like it would be kind of large.
Can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mother's family can
The
be.
16.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah, I have a lot. I couldn't even name all my cousins.
Yeah, I bet.
And definitely not second cousins. And now my second cousins are grandparents. And yeah, I have no idea.
So your siblings live around here? I know your brother still farms, but
All my siblings live in Nebraska, kind of
Okay.
just in basically the area I grew
Okay.
up in.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun. What about you?
My brother lives in Iowa, just south of Omaha. He lives in a little town called Elliott.
Okay. So why did he get there?
Who knows?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I get that.
He's been between jobs about 400 times. I mean,
see.
he's kind of got that spirit that my dad had. We used to
Military.
joke about it as every 3 years or so we moved. Every 2 or 3 years, that's why you go to school. I mean, I went to 5th grade in 4 different schools.
Wow.
But he moved, and he kind of had that mentality too. And he's kind of a chip off the old block. But here's his story. When I was at Yankton College as a freshman, I got a phone call, and it said, "You planning to come home for Christmas?" And I
This
said,
is
"Well, I
his
thought
parents
so."
calling.
My mom and dad
Mom and
called.
dad
My mom
called.
called. "Are you coming home for Christmas?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was planning to." "Well, don't come to Edgar. We live in
We don't live there
Nebraska
anymore.
City. They don't live where I
They had
went
moved.
to high school. They moved.
They'd already moved and calling to let you know, and it was all done with.
Yeah, it
and-
was all
yeah.
done with. And even after that, I think my dad still had that mentality because he moved from there. He moved to Nebraska City, and then he moved from Nebraska City to Papillion and,
Yeah.
Wow.
and such. So yeah, he just kind of kept it going for a long time. But my brother had that same kind of,
The roots aren't very deep.
Right.
and that's one of the
Got
bad things is because we talked just the other day, Susan and I, is that she has friends that she's known since grade school or before. I have my best memory of a contact or relationship that I have is a couple of kids I attended a lot of classes with in junior high. I mean, I have little flashes of other folks, but it's like, I don't have any thoughts about 5th grade other than I was the treasurer of 3 different classes all at the same time and never handled any milk money. They just kept electing me because they kept saying, well, the new kid was elected in the old class, so let's vote him in again. And I didn't ever know what the job was because I moved, and we moved a lot. So
Yeah.
Yeah, you talk. I think in my entire life, I've had 6 mailing addresses, and Lee maybe had 6 in 1 year at one point.
at one point in time, I
So-
probably had multiples.
How do you think that's helped you, the fact that you moved around?
Well, to some degree, I can change environments rather quickly and adapt. I mean, it's not that I make a lot of friends or anything, but I just know different people, different situations, different circumstances, and I can adapt to them. It doesn't make me panic, because I've been into new things so much as a kid
Right.
that it was kind of a constant. It's
Yeah.
just the way it is. So.
Yeah, I moved a lot until I reached 2nd grade, and I feel the same way. I think it makes me be interested more about what's going on in the area and find out. But yeah, we moved.
You just adapt.
Right.
You have to learn to
And you
adapt.
don't know any different.
Right,
So it's not
right.
like it's weird or anything.
Right.
So something surprising about you that people don't know.
My standard answer is that I went to a little 1-room country school in Nebraska, grades K through 6. When I was a 6th grader, there were 17 kids in the whole school. 1 teacher, 17 kids. I was alone. I was from 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. I was the only student in my class. So I did really. I mean, I was the top
She's
student.
always the top
I was
person
always
in
the
the
top
class.
student in my class
Because
for
they're
those,
right.
for those 3 years. So,
Okay.
but it was good. It was,
Yeah.
that's just where you went.
Yeah. I didn't know when I first got here what that meant.
What a
I
country
told
school
you
was.
that
Yes.
the other
yes.
day, and now I'm real familiar because a lot of people, when
Yeah,
you
the
moved,
parent-
you were telling me when you moved here there was an alfalfa field and there was no street across the street when you first moved to this house,
Yep.
and I think that's common for people that live in a smaller town.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, country
But-
school. I mean, the parents all brought their kids to school, and then you brought cold lunch. You brought a lunch bucket, and there was no hot lunch. If you wanted hot lunch, you could take like a TV dinner or something. We did have a stove in the basement that you could heat up a TV dinner if you wanted something like
We
that.
had thermoses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Chicken and
thermoses
star soup.
until the thermos
Yeah.
broke. Standard there too. But the teacher, had no break. I mean,
Yeah.
there was nobody there except her
Right.
with these 17 kids.
Wow.
Yeah, it would have been.
Yeah.
But we didn't know any different.
Right.
I mean, that's
Right.
just it was the big change was then when I went to junior high. When I went to 7th grade, I had 47 kids in my class, which is still small, but going from 1 to 47,
Right.
and I probably kind of knew 3 kids through Vacation Bible School.
Wow.
Yeah, that was frightening, very frightening.
Yeah. That would be.
It was so new. So new.
So how did you get to school then?
Bus.
Okay.
Yep. But
Okay.
we had some of the little towns had consolidated. Mostly Hooper, Ewing, and Nickerson were 3 towns, and they had consolidated and built a new junior senior high out in the country, and so everybody was bused to that
Okay.
junior senior
Yeah.
high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, there's a lot of odds and ends about me that are kind of unique. I've had 2 heart attacks. A lot of folks don't know that. Didn't know that, but yeah, I've had 2 heart attacks. That's why I do the heart walk every year. It's
Okay.
not just for fun.
Okay. Yeah.
I grew up and down the West Coast, so spent a lot of time. One of my favorite memories as a kid, I don't remember any individuals, but we talked about that a little bit. But I went to school in Chinatown, in San Francisco.
Oh wow.
Got bused from the base. That's where we went when we lived on the base, and it was kind of fun because I think you talk about the adaptability. Is there was some very distinct separation between the local kids that basically most of them were Chinese or Asian, and then the Navy kids that got bussed in. Well, when I first got there, I didn't know that that was the rule. So I would go up to it was all concrete because it was in the middle of San Francisco.
Right.
And so I would go up to the higher level where the Chinese kids, the Asian kids were playing and play with them. And then one time at lunch, one of the Navy kids said, we don't play with those guys. We kind of stick together as a group, as a Navy bunch. And I was like, well, they're more fun. I'm going up there. So, that was kind of one of the interesting things of that whole relationship.
Right.
And the other kids were real accepting. They didn't
Yeah.
have any problem with me being up there with them. But they, that's where the basketball went on and all that kind of stuff. So I just went with
Yeah.
that. So
I know when I was in first grade, I lived in Berkeley, California, and we had a little black gal in our class. And, at that time you had, 15 kids or so in your class. So you invited everybody in your class. And my mother told me that there were some people that weren't going to come if she came.
Oh dear.
And I didn't, and that was 1963, so,
Yep.
yeah.
Sure.
I just still don't understand it.
Right.
Don't get it. But I was very comfortable around, and I think that came from moving from Boston, Massachusetts to California back to the Midwest.
Yeah.
And, it never made
People
any,
were people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Because one
Right.
of the places I lived, we were talking about getting along with kids and, having friends from grade school and stuff. It was the block kids, the kids on the couple blocks you lived in, and this was in Aurora, Colorado, so it was huge, suburb of Denver.
Right.
But, in our little group, we had a couple Filipino kids. Mike Minamoto was my good friend. And then there was a family who had come from Germany. The kids were the first generation here. The
Wow.
parents still spoke German and
Mhm.
stuff. So, it was just an interesting, eclectical kind of group. But that was okay by me. That was cool. And I can even remember what school it was in. I've been in so many, but I had a young man, a black gentleman, who was a very good friend.
Yeah.
And with moving, I had a lot of adult friends. It was funny because we lived in one place and then we had a park behind us, and we had two park counselors, probably college at that time, but they seemed really, really old to me. And they both were named Ron. There was Ron Swisher, Ron Fountain. The white guy, he swore like a longshoreman, which always surprised me that he could hang around with kids because, it was a park. And then the black gentleman was just the nicest person ever. And he actually invited me to his wedding after we moved.
Wow.
We kept in touch for a couple of years. And I had a sixth grade teacher who invited me to her wedding after we moved and stuff. So, yeah, I think it goes back to what you talked about before with adaptability.
Mhm.
You just get along with folks wherever you happen to land. It's just the way it is. But,
Yeah.
and the thing most people don't believe of me is I am an introvert.
Mhm.
We talk about taking business classes. All of those tests you can take, it always comes out the same. I should be a monk in a back room copying like numbers on a ledger and not deal with people. I always score in that group. That
And
would be
it's so interesting because you're so friendly, and like when I come to the bank and look you up, you're just, I really appreciated that when I was there. You're like, hey,
yeah. Well,
I know
and
you.
public speaking still scares the heck out of me. I've worked on it for years. I am so glad that the pulpit is solid because if anybody could see one of my knees, I could air condition the building because my knee shakes so much. Pastors have been, sitting behind me when I've been doing it, and they've been looking at me kind of smiling because one leg, you can visibly see it
Oh wow.
move.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I am a very much an introvert,
Huh.
and that's the way I think. That slow and pondering
Mhm.
and such. And
Yeah. Wow. So something that changed you, and how did it change you?
I think college.
Yep.
I think Yankton College was probably a big step in my life. I just got to. My two older brothers had not gone to college,
Okay.
and so when it was time for me to graduate from high school, I mean there was kind of no real. I don't even remember it being a big decision that I would not or would go to college. I was going to college kind of
Okay.
thing. And my mom at that time, there were two colleges half an hour from where we lived. Dana College in Blair, Nebraska, and Midland College in Fremont, Nebraska. And my mother just flat out said, "You will not go to either of those colleges, so don't even think about it. You are going farther away from home than that."
Oh wow.
And so it was kind of pushing me out of the nest, which was really good.
So
it was
you
still
s-
only 2.5 hours.
You
but
stayed in a dorm room on.
yeah,
Okay.
Yankton College had 4 and then 3 dorms when we were there. And
Yep.
so, yeah, I lived in the dorm, and I went home in the summers. I would go home
Okay.
between the semester, between the years, I
Mhm.
guess, at Yankton College. But otherwise, that was the best. It was good that she didn't let me live at home because I probably would have just still been living at home,
Yeah.
So it was good to get me out of the house.
Huh.
Maybe she had another ulterior motive. I don't know. Maybe she's like, I got to get rid of this one. Everybody else seems to stick around. I got to get rid of one, But
I get it.
And I'd say Yankton College and Yankton, but for different reasons. It's provided the stability for me.
Uh-huh.
I came here. The longest I ever went to any school was 3 years prior to that. So going to a college for 4 years is like a long time.
Mhm.
So again, that's where I established probably my longest tenure of friendships and people that I knew and such like that. I went home after our freshman year, but then I didn't go home ever again after that. I mean, to live at home. I mean, to visit, yeah. But I worked in Yankton, summers. I worked for Walbaum Distributing. you know, and you mentioned sports and stuff. In high school, I ran track, I played football, I wrestled, you know, did a lot of clubs and stuff as well. But I wrestled in college, which was funny because I was no good. Just my college roommate was a very good wrestler, and he knew I wrestled because we wrestled different schools that came to the same tournaments. And he said, "Well, you should come out anyway." And I was just what I referred to as cannon fodder. You know, they practiced on me. But I did wrestle enough. That's probably something people won't know. I'm a college letter winner.
Oh, wow.
I wrestled enough in 2 years, got enough varsity matches, got my butt kicked enough that I got a letter jacket. I earned a letter jacket, so I have a Yankton College letter jacket. But, you know, the whole thing was Yankton kind of became the stability thing. But, you know, our wrestling team used to do odds and ends because this is a small college, so we would do things to raise money. And one of them was Clean Wallbaum Distributing. It's not around anymore, but it used to be the Schlitz distributor, the beer distributor in town. Cleaned their basement, where we found out that it used to be part of the Yankton College, you know, heating and cooling system. There used to be a big tunnel went from it up the hill, and that used to be the boiler plant, and then it was right off the railroad, so they got the coal and stuff there. They heated it up, and through this tunnel went up the hill to the college. But we cleaned it up, and Dan Walbaum looked at me when we were done. He says, "You know, you're the only one that stuck around the whole time." And he said, "You need a job?" I said, "I'd love a job." So I worked for Walbaum for a number of years. You know, great individual. You know, I still see his wife around, and she always says hi. And our car salesman was another beer guy at that time, so we know each other, and we're real close friends. But Yankton's, again, I moved so much before it almost became kind of, I think, a mental thing is when I got to Yankton. I've had the opportunity to move, had a job offer in Sioux Falls, and then when I worked my first banking job, they kept wanting me to go to Omaha. And that's when we just had young kids, and it was like, no, we're not going to raise kids in Omaha.
Right.
So, you know, Yankton was it. So we've been in Yankton for a long time.
Yeah. How long did you date before you got married?
Oh, what was it?
A couple years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it was
Yeah.
around, it was about 1980 when we kind of got together, and then we got married in 1982.
Yep.
Okay.
So
That's
40 years this year.
yeah.
Yeah, kind of a big one.
That's pretty. Are you going to do anything special that you know of?
Well, we've talked about doing a kind of a big trip, but we probably won't.
No, I'll still be working. So
Yeah, Lee will still be working for a few more months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
What was your first job?
growing up, we would my grandma, my dad's mom, would take us out, and we would hoe the weeds out of the bean field. And I babysat. I did a lot of babysitting for just kind of neighbor families and stuff.
50 cents an hour.
Yeah, or less.
Yeah.
Peanuts, basically.
Yep.
If you got $1, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And you?
I've been working a long time. Like I say, 6th grade, I went and worked on the farm. Actually got paid for it and stuff.
Okay.
But at the same time, back in Colorado, I had a paper route. I took over a paper route. Actually, it was never fully in my name because it was my brother's, and he probably forgot to take the paper more than he actually delivered them. So I jumped in, and so was my route.
And that was tough because you had to get up early in the morning.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, I only had 4 blocks.
Okay.
And it was 120 papers. And so we loaded up, I mean, I would have a bag over one shoulder, a bag over the other shoulder, and I had 2 buckets, 5-gallon pails on the front of my bike. So, you know, just chucking them there. And then Sundays you had 2 sections because it was the Denver Post. So it was huge. So we actually did 2 blocks and then stopped back at the house, loaded up again, and did the other 2 blocks. But yeah, it was very early in the morning. So, and then like I say, I've done some other things in the summer. I hauled hay. I hauled irrigation pipe for farmers. Worked for a couple farmers full-time a couple summers. Worked at a grocery store, did bagging and stuff. In Yankton, like I said, I worked for Walbaum. I kind of done a lot of odds.
Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut. When I was at Yankton College, I worked at Pizza Hut. I was the prep person. So I would get up early in the morning, 3-4 o'clock in the morning, go to Pizza Hut, do the prep, come back at 8, go to my 8 o'clock class, then clean up. I suppose I really made the 8 o'clock classmates not appreciate me.
Smelled a little like pizza. Yeah.
And then
But nobody was awake, so it really didn't matter.
So then go to a class or two, and then take a nap in the afternoon. Get up, go to a class or two, do some things, take a nap, get up and do it all again. So yeah, I worked at Pizza Hut. I made the very first pan pizza in Yankton, South Dakota.
All right.
Because we used to have to prep it, and then everybody at the store had to eat it, taste it, so we knew how to sell it to customers. So I made the pan pizza and then cooked it up for everybody.
There
So
you go.
Claim to fame.
that's one of those
You gotta get a
unusual things.
T-shirt.
I had some old, uniform stuff, and boy, I tell you what, you didn't want to keep it because it smelled like pizza.
Oh yeah, it does.
That
'cause I worked at-
polyester just
Yep.
absorbs it. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what made you stay at our church? Why have you stayed?
The people.
Yeah, I was going to say it's really family.
UCC Yankton is our church family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just know,
It's an extended family.
yeah,
'Cause
so
I don't
many people.
have a family, large family and stuff, so that's my family, for sure. I mean, whereas Susan's has a larger family and such, but I don't, and so it's always been that way.
But we didn't have family here.
Right,
When
we
when
never-
our kids
never
were
had
growing up,
family
we didn't
here.
have family here.
Yep.
We didn't have grandparents who the
Right.
kids could go stay with, or that thing in town. And so our church really is our family in Yankton.
Yeah, our daughter Emily, her godparents, she had two. One was a lady that we called Grandma
Grandma
Jean,
Jean.
and she was not family or related to us. And then the other one was a young lady who was in high school, Sarah Bernard, and
No,
Ber-
Maria.
Maria
Bernard.
Bernard. Sorry, Maria
Okay.
Bernard. But Maria was sorry, Maria. She won't see this,
No.
but.
Never know.
But her family, went to church at our church,
Uh-huh.
and they go out to church in Rapid. We see them when we're out in Rapid, like at
Okay.
camp and stuff.
And
But
Maria babysat for us.
for us, yeah,
So,
So you have how many kids?
We have
three.
three adult children. Two boys in Omaha, and then Emily, our youngest, is in Mitchell.
Okay.
And Emily is married to Matt Ramus.
It's Jerry and Jane's grandson.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and the other thing was, I was in college. I didn't have a church, so I did a lot of research on church, and actually went to church quite frequently with the guys in the dorm room next door, and they were Catholic.
Okay.
So I spent a lot of time in the Catholic Church. But when we came to the UCC Church, it felt more in line with my philosophy. Because
Yes.
again, with adaptability, there was just too much rigidness in the Catholic Church, and it's like, you will do. And it's like, okay, in the UCC Church, it's, well, you might do, but let's talk about it and see why you might or might not do it.
Mm-hmm.
We have a voice in
Yeah.
the UCC
Yeah.
church. I would say it's very much home.
Yep.
United Church of Christ is really where we belong.
Yeah.
And I laugh because it is very much home. We've had keys for years, and we're in there all hours of the day and night. It's like in the evenings and whatever, doing, whatever needs to be done, filling the candles or dropping things off or getting ready for
Once
something.
you get a key, you just never give it back.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Put your name on it, it's yours. But we kind of had it too because we were kind of the backup janitor at one time.
at one time, yeah.
Okay.
If the janitor couldn't be in church or whatever, we were kind of the backup people. So we had
So
responsibility.
what role, for lack of a better word, has impacted you the most? What volunteer opportunity that you've done?
Well, there's been a lot of them. We've been on a lot of boards through the years and such. The other day I was thinking the only one I can't think that I've ever actually officially been on is probably the music board. But I sell gift cards all the time, when Susan can't do it and then none of the music board shows up. So I feel like I'm part of the music board. We've ushered, we've, done all that kind of stuff.
I think for me, the activity that I struggle to let go of maybe is working with the kids,
Okay.
like Vacation Bible School and nursery, and I in church school. I want to know their names. That's very important to me, that I know who they are and how, I guess, just how they're connected to
Right.
the church, who their parents are, and I kind of want them to maybe know who that old lady is. I don't, whatever, but it's just, that's important to me, to know the kids.
Yep.
And watch them grow up. I mean,
Uh-huh.
that's just the amazing part, is, they do things here in church and then they go off to Placerville, and so then, there's that connection with Placerville, and that's just
Yeah.
the best.
When I've served 2 terms on the mission board, and I would say that was a group that I really enjoyed being part of. The different projects that we ran and what we brought to the table and what we tried to do and maybe didn't succeed, but we just kind of kept trying
And
new things.
what exactly does the mission board do?
Well, they look for external activities and maybe even internal nowadays, I'm not sure, but things that we could do in the community.
Okay.
So, like Susan's on it now.
Yeah, I'm currently
So,
on the board.
It's like
You know,
loads of love, the
yeah,
laundry
we do
thing.
the Loads
Okay.
of Love. That's sponsored through the
Okay.
mission team. Like when we collect donations for the contact center or pathways or whatever, the food donations or the canned goods, or at Christmas time there were additional lists that people were in need of blankets and towels and things like that. The mission team coordinates that and then makes sure those products go where they're
Okay.
supposed to go.
And like I say, we tried to do a lot of things. One year when I was chairman, I asked each of the members to take a month and then bring us some mission maybe that we could adopt, or that they were doing somewhere else, or they saw somewhere else, so we could
Okay.
at least discuss it. And we got some great ideas. Some of them, we ended up, writing a check. We had a small budget. We might write a check to them, or we might say, oh, well, we can do, like Susan said, we can do a food drive. We can do a clothing drive. We could do something. So got the members each involved, and it was like their month. And so they came up, and they brought some great ideas. Some of them we didn't do. Some of them we did. We started the pop tabs,
Mhm.
the Ronald McDonald House thing.
Mhm.
We got that going.
Habitat for Humanity
Mhm.
kind of flows through mission board or mission
Okay.
team.
Yeah.
Okay.
They used to be called boards, now they're teams.
Teams.
I still have
Right.
trouble saying
Okay,
it.
there you go.
Right
All right.
terminology, I guess.
All right.
And the other thing, as much as I maybe complained about it, I really, because of my accounting background, I did enjoy doing, like, I was the treasurer.
Okay.
I served a term as treasurer, and I did. I think the hard part there was trying to balance it with my job, because I was working a lot of hours at my job, and so at 9:00 at night I was at the church office trying to do that job, and that was a
Mhm.
struggle.
Yeah.
That was
And I
too
was the
late.
treasurer for a while
You were
too.
you were too.
Yep.
Yeah, that was too late to be doing.
So you got involved. That's important.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I would say
we've been on something for a long time. I mean,
always doing something.
yeah, even if we're not on a board, it's something maybe even informal.
Mhm.
Susan's gonna probably do something again with Vacation Bible School, and whatever Susan does, I'm in. So I mean, like, last year was outside, so I was there to put up tents and take down tents and, just things along that lines.
Mhm.
So it's like if one of us is part of it, the other one's a part of it, or
Mhm.
tends to be.
Yeah.
And that's where like I know Michelle Redmond always needs help in the nursery, and needs Vacation Bible School leaders, and needs church school assistants, and if some of it, like being a church school assistant, all I have to do is just show up. I can show up. I mean, I
Right.
don't have to prep anything. I just have to be there. So
Yeah.
that's kind of, I backed off. I don't teach anymore, but I will be an assistant. But
So the opportunities are there
they are.
if you ask, right?
They are.
You don't have to ask even. I mean, if you just keep your eyes open, there are just little things that folks, you can see happening in the church and step in and do, and, even ask about, how do I get involved in that or whatever. Don't wait for somebody to come and ask you, because in my probably history with the church, they'll probably come and ask you to sit on the boards you don't want to be on.
Because they have an opening.
Because they have an
Nobody
opening.
wants to be
But
on
that's
that board.
the way the church is, you know, and it's funny because a couple of years ago, last year, at Placerville, I actually did the program for our church retreat. And, you know, for an introvert, that's really tough. And it
Yeah.
was on spiritual gifts. And I found that real interesting for me to research and then to present. And it says you need to use your gifts where they're most aligned with the organization. And that goes against the grain with what we normally do, is like we have an opening, who isn't on a board?
Right.
Call them.
Who will say yes?
Yeah, instead
Right.
of that, it's like, okay, let's do the spiritual gift thing, and
It
okay,
is.
who has the caring and the need for this and would be good on a mission team, and who's organized and can get the services going, who could be a deacon, who can, you know, those kind of things.
Who
But
can delegate
Who's
well?
good with numbers?
I think that's really important, to know how to delegate so you don't get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so there's lots of opportunities, and we've said it before, is, you know, I know young folks with young families look at how busy their lives are with the kids, but there are opportunities, maybe just one hitters that the folks can do and kind of get introduced to things in the church. And that's kind of how we got started, and we, you know, had 3 kids, and we were always on a board when all 3 of them were growing up.
So this is board/team.
Teams,
Teams.
yeah, they were all
Okay.
boards
Yeah, they were
before.
called boards
Okay.
before.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kind
Everything was a board.
Basically, this pretty much the same as they always have been, but they just changed the name.
Yeah, the name change was part of a process that
right.
when we were doing some transition, because
Right.
I was part of I had like a 3 or 4 year run there where I was part of the mission, our mission statement.
Right.
I think I was maybe, I don't know what I was at that time, but I got pulled into that group and then filled in some spots since I was on that. Then we did a transition with some of our interim ministers, and I was in on those. So I think I had a 6-year run where I was doing things like that and a board or a team or whatever. But that was about the time that we were going to go with teams and a different approach overall. Teams was the first step, and we lost a pastor during that time, so we never went to the second step.
Okay.
Well, because there's been discussion too about recruiting people for the teams based on their passions.
Correct. Yes.
But that's, you know, that kind of falls by the wayside when you've got 4 openings somewhere and you just need a body, you know.
Right.
And so then
I think that
it's hard to.
for me, I think that having the consistency of people there, and then going to, you know, what your passion, what your spiritual gift is. I know developing this interviewing thing with everyone has just been extremely enlightening for me.
Oh, that's good.
And
That's good.
I've just enjoyed getting to know people.
And I think people
And that
really
makes
enjoy
me
it,
have
and people enjoy it in church
Yes.
too, because
Yep.
even though I've known Don and Pam for a long time, you learn things that you don't know about them.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
anybody, you learn things about
Yep.
them.
Yeah.
So
And
it's been nice.
And it gives you more of a family, a home.
Right.
That yeah, that's what I feel doing this.
My comment usually was, you just got to do dishes with somebody, and you learn so much about them.
Yep.
Spend a little time in that kitchen downstairs, and you're wiping dishes or putting dishes away or whatever, and you want to talk. I mean, you've got to do something, so you visit. You learn about people.
Yeah.
Work with them, and you learn about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, you two. It's been wonderful
It's been fun.
Thank you.
chatting,
Yeah.
Chat.
and we'll see you on the big screen.
Yeah. Well, how can we not go to church on Sunday?
Right. I don't know what Sunday
Oh,
it'll
that's
be.
true. Oh,
but
you don't know.
yeah.
So, it could be any time.